Oh, hello, grasshoppers, and welcome to the Bot Signal. My name, if you don't know me, I am RJ Redden, and entrepreneurs hire me to skyrocket their marketing message because most are shouting into a black hole or they're a carbon copy of everyone else and they can't get engagement or connection on or offline. So I create messaging that rocket launches their engagement level and increases those profits. And I'm not alone. I know you've noticed there is an amazing man next to me and someone I've known for a little over a year now. We hop planes to see each other. That's how important our relationship is. Okay, yeah, there's usually an event involved too. But my friends, this is Brady Patterson. I almost forgot your name. I almost called you Bradley. I'm like, that's not his name. Brady Patterson. And he has got a lot to teach us today about just a subject that I think is absolutely near and dear to our hearts. It's connecting with people in a good and positive way that helps launch businesses. So without further ado, Brady Patterson, everybody. How you doing, Brady?
I'm doing great. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. We have like 12 people coming over, something like that. Food's cooking, things are happening, dogs are laying around, snoring, or making smelly smells. It's a wonderful day.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for taking your time on a holiday. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you. I think that's awesome. And so who are you? What do you do? And give us the intro.
Sure. So my name is Brady, as she already let you know. And so particularly I run JV programs for people. So the company I work with is the JV Insider Circle. So we're one of the largest joint venture communities for coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, right? So expert-based entrepreneurs in the world. We're about 350 members. I don't know how many countries, it's a lot. We're a pretty diverse group, covering a lot of expertise in pretty much any niche/niche, whatever you want to call it. I'm Canadian, so I say niche. Yeah. And any niche you can imagine, we are pretty much in that space. And from my side, the biggest thing for me is the community involved. So JVs, also known as joint ventures. If you've never heard this term before, that's what a JV is, a joint venture. It's kind of like when two people with businesses get together and say, we're going to do something to kind of support each other. We're going to help each other out in business in some capacity. And so the JVIC, the JV Insider Circle, is the largest community of its kind on the planet, especially, well, at least in the expert-based space.
Awesome. And we many people on the channel here have seen Jay Fazette come and do an interview every once in a while when he has stuff going on. So you may or may not be connected with joint ventures, but I'll tell you, the first time that I heard about it, it was like, duh, like it was one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I had technically done some joint ventures and I hadn't even known about it, but doing them in a more structured way, doing them with, a little, it's so much easier to enter into, some kind of a JV agreement with someone when you know what to look for in a partner, when the ins and outs of a really great JV offer, when these things, it's so much more easy to dive a little bit deeper. I mean, the JVs I did before I heard of JV, I'd pop on somebody else's podcast, I'd pop on somebody else's show, try to get something back from it, and kind of rarely really get something back from it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so tell us what, just first of all, what the JV Insider Circle, who's there? What are they doing? What kind of stuff is being done?
Oh my gosh, it's such a crazy group. So I mean, we've had everything from like people that are like personal development, coaching, training, teaching, things like that, to poison ivy removal. So local stuff, right?
I know
To
that guy.
yeah, so you know Steve, right?
Yeah.
And so it like all in between real estate and which real estate has its own connotations when it comes to JVs. But like predominantly we focus on people with like our biggest industry, the biggest people that can profit the most are probably those with information products, right? So they have a digital course or some sort of digital program, digital training, uh, hypnosis. We have hypnotists, NLP specialists, all these kind of things. Some people are selling hypnosis audios or NLP meditation retreat, things like that, right? But also, you know, how to build how to run a profitable webinar, how to create an online course. Like a lot of digital products are really prevalent in the JVIC, but there's things like palm reading. I mean, there's how to build a website and the courses that go along with them. So there was a lot of things that happen within JVs, but the biggest thing for me, I think, and something that really landed with me, and I mean, and I felt this way since before. Like I've known Jay Fazette, like you said, for many years, and you know, it community is the number. Like most entrepreneurs are alone. Let's put it that way. We're operating in a silo, right? You know, we're standing there, we've got our coffee and our computer, and we're doing our thing, and we're doing it all by ourselves because that's what entrepreneurs are supposed to do. We're tough. We're ninjas. You know, we show up in the middle of nowhere, and we do our thing, and then we leave. But it's a lonely existence. There's a reason that so many businesses fail, and it's because we're trying to do everything by ourselves. I always liken it back to because I'm an outdoorsy guy. I always go back to the original explorers, so people that expanded not just Canada but the United States as well, right? So I don't know the U.S. explorers, but I know like in Canada we had David Thompson and people like that who were mapping like huge, like he mapped most of Canada by himself, but most of these people died young, right? Because their life was so hard. They were doing everything by themselves, even though they were doing the things that they love to do. But doing it alone is oftentimes very difficult. And for me, I did that. I thought entrepreneurship was like, well, I'm supposed to do it by myself. I'm supposed to tough this all out. And I realized, thankfully, early enough, because I mean, I'm coming up on 40 now, but I realized in my late 20s that doing it by myself was not helping. Right, I needed some sort of scale, some way to connect with other entrepreneurs, to find a community that made sense. Because like I'm pretty much guaranteed that you've talked to somebody, RJ, and I know that most people listening to this have talked to somebody, and they're like, you tell somebody, and they look at you, you're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you work on the weekend? What do you mean you don't stop working at 5 o'clock? What do you mean you don't get a regular paycheck? Or whatever it is, right? Like people like when you first start a business, like when it comes to kids, let's use kids as a good example. I know we don't have kids, but when it comes to kids, it's like everybody's like, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And that everybody knows that. But as soon as you start a business, the first thing people do is go, "You're crazy. Why would you do that? What's wrong with you? Why don't you just get a real job?" All this kind of crap that people come up with, and it's like, well, because that's not interesting to me, right? I'm not that kind of person, and it's like the community that you had that was so willing to help you raise a child vanishes overnight, right? And so it's so critical to build a community of people like and trust, like a family that can support you. Like I mean, like I look at you and me, for example. Like if you called me up tomorrow and said, "Hey Brady, I need you to do this. Help me promote this or find a solution for this," I'd be like, "Absolutely." Right? I mean, how long? Like it was last week. It was Thursday or Friday last week. I was like, "RJ, can we get on the phone? I need to talk to you about a promotion we're running." And you were like, "Absolutely." And here we are, right? And you need to build tribe like that. And that's what we have within the JVIC, within the Joint JV Insider Circle, is a community like that. People that know what their products are, which weirdly enough, a lot of entrepreneurs don't know that.
I know. That was one of my problems. Yes.
It's insane. And I mean, you can survive on that, right? But it's surviving and it's not thriving. And so so the community within, they know what their products are. They know we're helping them, if they don't already have their plan to make it attractive to new partners, it would help them structure it. So, some people might think, like they don't have any idea how to do JVs essentially, right? It's like, where do I start? How much do I pay people? Do I pay them at all? Which part of the thing is which makes most amount of sense to promote? How many emails do I send? Like all the pieces that are involved with, like there's a lot of moving parts in a JV, but when it's really easy to execute when it's really well explained, right? Like here, I can send you a single email, right? That has every instruction, every link that you have to send out, every piece of information. Like it's just very, very simple. And so that's one of the things we do within the community is have a group of people that actually know that. They know what they're selling. They know how much they're going to pay people to help them promote it. And they're looking for new friends. They're looking for people and connections and community that they can build. They want to build their own tribe. The tribe that, like, it's great to have clients and to have your own tribe, right? You've got the grasshoppers. I follow your bots, you've got like all these other pieces, and it's great to have tribe. And it's also good to have colleagues, right? It's good to have people you can fall back on when things don't go the way you want them to, or something doesn't work the way you thought it would. Or you just need to bounce an idea off them. Hey, I'm thinking this. What do you think? Like, this is the importance of community. This is the importance of tribe. And also, we also give them the opportunity to, help them create a JV pitch, right? So they can tell people what they're doing very quick, within 2 minutes, explain the entire thing, right? Yeah. And then give them that opportunity to share with the group on a regular basis. So if they don't know people, they can regularly share with people what they're actually doing. So this is like, parts of it, but community is the most important thing for me. That's where I started off from here with this little rant, but having a tribe that I can connect with and can support me in business, and also I can support them, is one of the most important things in my life.
And I think that, so many people are missing that and they don't know it. As you said before, the whole, the legend, let's say, of the entrepreneur is that, and it's every one of those rags to riches stories you read on the internet, whether they're true or not. I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps. I had $1 in my bank account. I had no friends. I had no money. And I made this product, and you can too, make $1 million. I mean, that's the nutshell, right? But so many stories, and we all read those stories, and it's like those action movies. We've got a single person being the hero, but what sucks is that story doesn't serve us. That story excites us. That story makes us passionate. That story, if you're an entrepreneur, makes you go, I could do it. If that person could do it, I could do it. That's nice. But what ends up happening is you on your couch. I used to sit in the one in the living room, the love seat. You on your couch with your laptop. You against the world. You against the world doesn't work with entrepreneurship. That's the legend, but legends are rarely true. It's what has worked for me is, not just networking with people. Hi, here's my business card. But really getting to know people, bonding with people. It's not as immediate. It takes time. Not everybody is a great partner, but I can say that there are some people, in the last year that I've met that, I'll go to the ends of the earth. Whatever you need, I will squeeze it in, because your success is my success. And that is, I will never write a story where I was alone in the bot cave, and then fabulous me did this, and then fabulous me did this, and now I'm on top of the world. No, it took a bunch of people. You were there, Brady. God, why am I forgetting your name today? I'm not forgetting it. It's just not coming out very well. You were there. You were there at, I think it was my second event that I had ever done. I was tabling next to you, and I asked you if you would have a problem if I stood out in front of my table instead of sitting back behind it. And you were like, of course, it's your table. Do whatever you want. And then I think that we both started dancing at the same time that the music came on. And then it was like, oh, I've got a friend here. And so we ended up really chatting that weekend. And it was just like, and now I so celebrate when I know that Brady's going to be on a trip with me. Because I know I'm going to get to connect with you, and I know I'm going to get to hear all about all of the crazy projects that you're doing, because you're never doing less than 5 crazy projects. I just would like you to know that I know that. This is like, when I get on a plane to go to an event, I'm going to see my family. And that's absolutely true. I'm not going, oh, I've got to be away from my family. I've got to be away from my dog and my kitten and my wife, and I'm going to get so behind, and I wonder if this is even going to be worth it. And no, I think about going to see my family. And the reason that I think about that is because I know how to joint venture. I know how to do what Brady's talking about right now. Let's see. I'll catch it up on the comments for a moment, and then I'll ask you another pertinent question. Sure. Teresa says that was the hardest lesson to learn. You need people to vent to, test your ideas with. That's the single thing that keeps me going. It's one of the reasons I always watch the show regularly. Oh, you're so good to me. Very good. Denise is also wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, Brady.
Thank you, Denise.
And so, yeah. And, Lori, I know you're watching. Yeah. BoobyBot is not a carbon copy of everybody else. BoobyBot has never been seen around the world. So oh, I think my mic's turned up too loud. Let me do that. Okay. Very good, darling. So another question for you then.
Okay.
If people are sitting and they're listening to me go on and on about how cool joint ventures are, how does one start to tap into that kind of power? How does one start?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I actually think that it starts within the community itself. If you've got a product that you know is amazing and can make an impact in the world, right, then you need to be able to, it's your responsibility to get it out there to help people. We don't need a whole bunch of people living in silos, hiding their information and being the best kept secrets in the world, because secrets aren't helpful. Right? We need to get them out there. And so, like, for example, like within the JV Insider Circle, we actually teach people exactly what to do, right? Systematically. Like, here's like we have a quiz even that's like, which parts of this do you have in place? And then we'll direct you to the training that actually helps you do that, right? This community actually provides everything you need to be able to do joint ventures effectively, right? But probably the number one thing is just deciding to do it, right? Okay, I want to be a J. I want to use this to scale my business. Like, the best example that I think of is like, if you try to build your community and sell products one-on-one or just like all by yourself, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. And sometimes, like, let's say you want to build your business with Facebook ads, and I know like Facebook ads are either demonized or glorified, one of the two, right? Like, there's two camps. There's very little middle ground. But if you want to, get good at that and build your audience that way, you can do that. But it's going to take time. It's not very personal, and it's probably going to cost you a fortune to get to that point, even if you have an incredible product. JVs are one of the most powerful ways to get out there, because you don't, like, you're bypassing all the start of the regular sales process, right? So, like, for example, RJ, you, like, if I'm promoting, the Bot Academy or anything that you're doing, right? These things are easy to, like, if I tell my tribe, hey, you have to listen to RJ, already you skip the whole cold phase. There's no cold outreach. There's no trying to figure out the ads. There's none of that stuff. It's just like, hey, you guys need to listen to RJ. She knows what she's talking about when it comes to bots. There's no other place to go. Now, my tribe trusts me. They're going to listen to that. And so it makes sense. And then, of course, you get that scale. So very, very quickly, I can do, like, let's put it this way. The entire JV Insider Circle community was built on joint ventures. Nothing else. No ads, no nothing. Just, hey, RJ, will you promote this? Hey, Jay, will you promote? And Jay's promoted this, right? It's just building that community and having people exposed to it on a regular basis. And so if you're looking at getting into using JVs in your business, one of the best ways to do it is just to start. Go to your friends. If you like, hopefully you have community. If you don't have a business community around you, by the way, get one. It's so important. And this is a great one. This is one option. There are many. I'm not saying this is the only one. I'm biased, but I think this is the best one. And it's really important to get into a community that's on the same trajectory, right? They understand business. They understand the scale piece of promoting each other's products and explode if they're the right fit. By the way, that's something I want to address, if you don't mind, just really quick.
Please.
If you have a hardcore business product that's like B2B, kind of you're selling like hardcore business training, maybe don't do a promotion with like somebody whose audience is purely personal development and is, maybe like if you're going to work with Tony Robbins, like for example, or Brendon Burchard, you want to work with the divisions that are not personal development based. So if, like, for example, let's look at our community. If I wanted Brendon or Tony to promote our products, I would not ask them to promote it to the NLP trainings or the personal development trainings or the high performance academy trainings or whatever they're doing, right? I would say, which are your business groups? We want to promote to the business audience. So having like a congruent match between tribes is really important. And one of my friends, David Ricklin, is one of the largest, I think it's the largest personal development blog in the world. I guess like 1 million plus unique visitors a month. And he's amazing. He has lots of people. And you would think that, out of that 1 million plus fresh people every single month, that there would be really good traction, or you could like spray and pray, right? You hope that it works. Just throw the fire hose up. But the reality is I've done promotions to 2.5 million people at one shot and had 300 people register and 30 people show up on a webinar, right? Yeah. Because it's just not a fit. You got to put the right people in, you got to put the right message in front of the right people. And that's where the relationship comes into play. It's like, I know that with you, I know that we have a lot of overlap. We have business-minded people. They're doing some really cool things. It makes sense. If you were selling palm reading, maybe not, right? If you were selling essential oils, probably not, right? So it's finding where those are, and there's nothing wrong with promoting or like building the relationship, even if the lists don't match, because most people stop at the person right in front of them, right? Just like they do with clients, right? They stop at the clients. But with JV partners, they talk to the person, they're like, oh, they're not a fit. But they forget that that person is standing in front of dozens or hundreds of other people, right? Just like that one client that they're like, oh, this person won't buy my product, but they forget, like, they have family members, they have community, they have other people behind them, right? It's never about the person standing right in front of you, right? So even if you're listening to this message and me and RJ are talking about JVs and you're sitting there going, well, this doesn't make sense to me. Sure, I get that. This might not be the thing for you, but the people behind you, it might, right? If you have other entrepreneurs in your tribe, if you don't sell digital products, or you don't have like a business like what we're discussing here, then sure, but people that do, right? And it's always like that. I remember when 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon or something like that came out years and years ago.
Yeah.
Now, but I think it's like 2 degrees now or 1 degree. Like, it's insane, right? How quick things happen. Like, Tony Robbins came to Vancouver. We wanted to we're 6 days before the event. We were like, hey, Tony Robbins, they reached out to us. Tony's coming. Can you promote his event? We were like, sure, right? This is with him on. And so 6 days, #1 JV partner in Vancouver, because of our community, because of the tribe that we've built and the trust that we've related, because it makes sense, right? And because it's a match. Same with Brendon Burchard when he came to Vancouver, right? #1 JV partner. And this is what happens when you build a good community, when you have a product that makes sense, and you're willing to build a relationship, right? You're willing to take the time to get to know people, because that leads into everything else. Now, just building a relationship is not enough, right? It's build and support each other and help each other.
Yep.
Find other options, right? Because you can never stop at that. Every action in business is going to create some sort of follow-up activity, right? So if I meet, when RJ and I first met, it was like, we talked, we laughed, we danced, we had fun. We've gone for dinner together. We've done a lot of things. We're going to meet on a cruise in January in 2020. like it's constantly creating follow-up. I like being engaged with RJ. I like spending time with her. I like getting to know her better and how her business works and and looking for ways that I can support that. And that's how it ends up happening. But I'm always looking for, how do we take it to the next level? How do we promote each other better? How do we help each other's tribes better? And it's always creating these like, okay, let's try this. Let's try that. How do I tweak this email sequence? How do we look at a bot? How do we structure things in a way that helps each other further? And it's always creating, like, one action also creates like a bunch of other ones, like not just one necessarily, right? Like, meet RJ. Okay, met RJ. Great. Book a show. Let's have a follow-up email or a call. And then that call is going to require one or two probably emails going back and forth, or a Facebook conversation, right? Like, there's always follow-up stuff. And following through with that, following through in the actions that you commit yourself to, and taking care of your tribe is one of the most important things you can do.
It really is. And this is, I mean, the first time I got into, JVing, it was just like, I just wanted to JV with everybody I ever met. You know what I mean? And we would work hard to put together a webinar or something. And we would do all this stuff. And I jumped in with both feet. And I think that helped a lot, because building relationships is not the easiest thing in the world. You need to kind of develop some experience with it, and then go and ask the people who know, okay, so I had this one JV experience and this happened. Do you know how I could have done that better? Having that safety net of support, having people to say, gosh, this isn't going at all like I thought it would go. I'm spending a lot of time and money. I am not sure what to do here. It's, for me, that opening of the door to, let's find some other people who have some like-minded stuff, because as you said, it is not about the person in front of you. It's about who they meet and who they meet and who they meet. And what I love about JV, what I love the most about JV, is that you get to remember that it's a person in front of you. That's a person, likes, dislikes, fun things about them. There is a whole thing to engage with that is way beyond, what can I make off of this person's email list?
Yeah.
And some folks are all about that, and that's totally great. Love them. But I can identify it a mile away now, and I avoid, because that's not what it's about. To me, it's having that tribe.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point to hit. We actually talk about that specifically. There's 5 types of JV partners, right?
Really?
And we talked about the money motivated ones, right? And they can be amazing. They can be incredible human beings. They can be fantastic. And they're also the people that sometimes will abandon you the night before a presentation or before a promotion, because somebody else promised them more money. Or if the promotion doesn't go well because there was just not a fit or something like that, they're also the person that will never promote you again, right? And so there's nothing wrong with this, right? There's nothing wrong with being money motivated. It's just it's a primary driver. And we have 5 primary drivers when it comes to JV. So some people are money motivated, some people are credibility seeking, right? So they're looking to build their own brand, essentially. You got people that are motivated by favor, right? You do something for me, I do something for you. You got people that are, we call them a sneezer, which isn't the best term, but I can't think of another better one. Those are typically friends and family or raving fans, right? They sneeze and everybody knows what you're doing, right? And they're by far my favorites. Number one, because usually they're incredibly prolific at sharing. And the last one is oh my gosh, it's escaping me right now. It'll come back to me in a minute. But having these the motivations, there's nothing wrong with content. So there might be motivated by content, right? A lot of podcasters, people that run shows or blogs, those are oftentimes the content motivated people. But that's also associations. Like if you have a professional association you're part of, they're always looking for content, right? So, and people can have all 5. Like they can have all 5 different types of motivations, but one is usually the primary driver. right? And if you know which one, like you said, if you know that they're driven by money, then you know how to deal with them in a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Just an idea, but if you have some sort of a quiz or something, you know what I mean, where people can find out what kind of, which of the five they are, that might be very interesting. Because Stacy, so I'm RJ Sneezer. Maybe. Hello, Stacy.
Love
Good
it.
to see you. So yeah, that's really interesting. I've never heard it put that way before. But it really, yeah, it teaches you, what language you need, what type of offers you need, all of that stuff. One thing that has always been very interesting to me about all of this relationship wise is that it's that when you're involved in a JV community, it's not about protecting all of my personal IP and you know what I mean? It's not, we're not competing with each other. We're interested in helping each other's businesses, and therefore JV communities are typically a lot more giving than other communities. Do you see examples of that with JVIC, and if so, what kind?
Oh, good question. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of giving that happens in there. Like, for example, we're running a promotion internally right now with the JVIC members, right? Because we just made some changes. We've made a few things, and we're like, hey, if you guys are doing this, if you like, let's grow the network together, right? And we created an internal contest. We're like, okay, and people are adding stuff to it, right? So they're part of the JVIC, and I'm like, okay, well, if you get one sale, everybody gets this program from Iman, right? Everybody. And if people get 5 sales, then they get like some coaching with Iman, with Rich, who's the co-founder of JVIC. They get some one-on-one time with me where we specifically deep dive into their JV strategy. So we're giving into it to build the tribe at the same time. But then people are messaging me like, hey, can we add this? Like if other people in the tribe sell this, can I give them my course, right? If they sell this much. And so I think that's a big part of it. The other thing is like we oftentimes, to build the tribe, to build a community, we will connect with people and like, for example, we'll give something away, like the program away, right? Maybe not necessarily the year-long membership, but like, for example, Ultimate Course Formula is an amazing program on how to build courses. And so oftentimes when it makes sense because of the community involved, we will give the program to them so that they can have a product to sell. Like there's a lot of brilliant experts out there that have they're a great consultant or a coach and they're selling their services one-on-one, but that's not really scalable, right? So we're like, okay, well, you're part of the JVIC already, like as an example, why don't you build a program? Here's the course, it's free, just for you, not publicly. It sells for $2,000 publicly, but if here as part of the JVIC, let's give you this course so you can build your program, right? Let's have something that's easier to JV, because a digital product is always going to be more scalable and easier for someone to sell or promote for you, because your coaching time is limited, or your training time or your one-on-one time is always going to be a limiting factor. And so, but if somebody can promote, we did a webinar recently, and so the thing that 900 people registered for the webinar, right? And we had, I think, 350 or 400 people show up, and we couldn't do that if we didn't have community that was the JV partner that promoted us was so excited about what we've done for his tribe and the things that we've given them. And he was like, here, it was just constant, give and help each other. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That was one of the things that just surprised me. We were normally, if you're at a network meeting of some kind, or sometimes if you're at certain events or whatever, it's all about people just hop from one person to another and try to sell them something. We all hate being in an event like that. When you are at an event centered more on JV, the atmosphere is entirely different. It's about how can I help my fellow, entrepreneurs be successful. And it's it's such a different atmosphere, and so much actually is produced from that. And it's, it's easy to remember when you're in a great big group of people. It's harder to remember when you're at home, paying the bills, doing the work. When you think of people who are just starting in the JV arena, what do you think is their biggest obstacle?
Ooh, I like that question. Biggest obstacle. I think probably the number is self-doubt, right? It's like most people that come to JVs have tried everything else first, right? They've been doing Facebook ads, Google ads, newspaper ads, Yellow Pages ads. I'm dating myself again. Like they've tried everything and they're struggling, right? They've tried webinars. Webinars bombed for them. That's probably because they didn't know how to do a webinar properly, right? There's the biggest thing is there's right ways and wrong ways to do things. And so if somebody's looking at using JVs, then they need to do it the right way to make it be more effective. Like if they're just coming into it, then how you do that by getting into the right community, by being with the right group of people, and they can help support you beyond anything you could ever do on your own.
Yeah. It's really true. The support that I've gotten in the last year from people has massively outweighed the support that I've given. Hope no one is counting right now. But things that you've always wanted to ask. But if you have the competition mindset, if you have the, we're all fighting for a piece of pie that is rapidly descending in quantity. If you have that mindset, the last thing you're going to do is ask questions. If you can switch to a different view of it, then a more giving, Jay always says, I'll go first, a more giving type of mindset, then I think I think honestly that's the old habits. Now you're sitting on your couch by yourself again. What are you going to do? You need to pay the bills. I think that stuff switches people back into that old mindset. So to me, that's one of the hardest problems that I've seen people deal with, and that I've dealt with myself, just, if you're in a space where you haven't experienced this working for you, if you're in a space where you've maybe seen some people profit from JVs, but you're just not really sure how to go about it, and maybe you attend a conference, you have a thing coming.
Yeah.
Tell me about the thing that you have coming.
Oh, yeah. So we have a webinar coming up next week. We're going to deep dive into the JV Insider Circle and what it's all about, talk about the community, really, and do some training on what it is to actually use JVs effectively in business, because it's so critical to do it the right way, like I said. And people's obstacle is oftentimes that they don't have the right way. Like it's just not laid out for people. There's no, like most entrepreneurs get overwhelmed by stuff because they have no path and no mentor to guide them along that one path, right? So even if they do find the path, then they're stumbling through the dark, tripping, hitting their face. It's uncomfortable. I only know this because I've hiked at night a lot, and a few times without a headlamp. It was not a wise decision. But I know that so the webinar we've got coming up next week is going to be a pretty deep dive into how that actually works, right? Everything that we're doing with the JVIC, and how to build your community, and how to do it the right way. And here's my perspective on JVs. I mean, I have a lot of perspectives, but this is one of the most important pieces. Like, you have to start somewhere. You need to actually, it's like putting it off or deciding you're gonna try other strategies and different things is fine, but you need to actually take action on stuff. You can watch as many free trainings on how to run ads or how to do this or how to do that. You can watch a ton of stuff, but you actually, at some point, you need to start taking action. And you need to have somebody that can kind of guide you through that process. Like, I don't talk a lot about my past. Sometimes I do, but like, I've went through some very rough patches in my life. I sobered up from a drug addiction almost 18 years ago, right? I have dealt with, I've always had some sort of coach or mentor that's helped me along that path, along my path, including in business, right? I always needed somebody like, I don't know. I didn't know about systems. I ran a service business, right, for a long period of time. I didn't have an information-based business, right? Or I didn't run an information channel to that business. So having these different strategies, having the community is one of the most powerful things to be able to do, and to see it modeled, right? So we want to talk about a JV community. This entire webinar next week is being promoted by our joint venture community. So you can actually see exactly how it works. It's like, it's a breath of fresh air to be able to watch things happen exactly the way that we talk about, right? Because a lot of people in internet marketing are kind of like, well, look at this shiny thing we do over here, but in reality, they're kind of over here doing something else completely different. And that's not like, for us, it's like, why waste time talking about the shiny thing? Let's talk about the thing that's actually working, and let's actually use that. And so next week we're going to do that webinar. It's going to be an unbelievable webinar. You're going to hear from Rich and Iman. I might even pop on. I think they're going to mostly run it, but and really deep dive into what it's like, what's involved in running an effective JV and building an effective community.
Do you have to have a pile of cash to get into joint venturing? What's the base that you need to get into these types of communities?
Some of them can be very pricey. I know some, so I've seen them everywhere from $5,000 to I know a gentleman who runs a JV community that's $250,000 per year to be part of. Obviously, there's a different scale of business that's happening to be doing something at $250,000, but so I've seen them from anywhere from like $5,000 to attend like a nice intimate retreat or a regular community up to about $250,000. We're talking about significantly less here, right? We're working. Our thing has always been like, make this accessible to everybody so that it can be successful, right? Rather than like limit the amount of people that can attend. We're like, let's make this accessible for the folks that are new, right? If you're up and coming in your space, like, this is a very quick way to do it. And so it's going to cost you dramatically less than 5K.
Yeah.
And certainly less than 250.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, 250. Wow. Do you also come to my house and clean it? I mean, what kind of service you get in there? So this webinar, of course, is free. I would yeah, most webinars are. Okay, very good. And you've sent me a link to use.
Yes.
All right. Brady Patterson, I'm going to find it right now. I was not.
Does this chat box work for me too? In here, I'll put it right into. I can just make it simple and go to. It's in our. I'll put it right in our messenger again.
Oh, okay, thank you. You're so good to me. This is. Very good, sir. I'm going to be there. Absolutely. Because, I mean, you got to support the people you believe in. Mm-hmm. To me, one of the things about being an entrepreneur, an isolated entrepreneur, is that we're isolated within a complete sea of information. Mm-hmm. Some of it good, most of it crap. And we end up following people or supporting people that we don't really even know sometimes because someone has told us to do this thing. And so, okay, it worked for you. Maybe it'll work for me.
Yeah.
The coolest thing, I think, about getting involved in JV communities and with JV partnerships is that I don't have to rely on somebody I don't know's information about this other thing that I don't know. Mm-hmm. That, we're in a sea of information. How do you figure out what's important? At these events with these partnerships, what I've been able to do is figure out not who's important to the, whole world, not the, the Gary V's of the world. He's a lovely man. I'm certain. I've never met him. But I don't have to think about what he says is important and then follow that. What I do is I make relationships with people. I support them in whatever they need me to do. And then when I need support, I get to ask. Mm-hmm. And amazing things happen from that. We talked about the boat. Lori with BoobieBot will also be on the boat with us. So you're going to get to meet and see the BoobieBot and Lori all at once. It'll be
fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Well, and Mr. Alexander Alex Cabal, with
Yeah.
which I know you're in deep with through True Chat, and I know that Alex and I first met on the cruise.
Yeah.
So the community we're talking about right now.
Exactly. Well, in fact, that guy sent me a text today and said, "Hey, would you like to meet up? I'd like to know how you're doing." He and I have been involved heavily for the past year. Just, the opportunities, I went to the marketing cruise last year, and I didn't know what to expect at all. I knew some of my friends were going to be there, and so I thought, okay, my friends will be there. Nobody will let me fail. It will be fine. And I went and I met Alex, whom originally I thought was my competition. He said messenger bot, and I thought, oh my gosh, somebody's here and they're my competition. No, I met Alex, and Alex was like, you need to try out my platform. This is going to be amazing for you, and this partnership's going to be amazing for us. He's flown me places to go hang out and table at conventions. REIC, was it? It's been an amazing relationship, and we're really building. I'm helping on the front end user side, but building a product that is just going to serve so many people, and it's so exciting. And that's not a relationship where I went to him and I said, "Would you mail for me?"
Yeah,
it is a relationship that, we met a good 3-4 times on that boat. Talking about ideas, exchanging ideas, and then learning his vision matches my vision of where this thing could go. So I think that there's so much about building these relationships. I would never go back to the old way.
no.
I will be in JV partnerships absolutely forever. There's no going back to being alone. And I think that's maybe one of the most important messages that I really want people to hear is, do not go it alone. Do not be the only person who has ideas for your company, because then you're bouncing them off yourself. You're going to second guess. You're going to wear yourself out. Having partners, having a support network, having the incredible priceless relationships. This is where your business gets to grow, not just monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
I get to borrow Brady's experience. Brady's been in business a lot longer than I have. I get to say, hey, what do you think of this? Can I take you out to virtual coffee and talk about something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go it alone. I have the strength of giants behind me, and because of that, my business does so much better than it would be doing. Denise is in the house. Yes, she is. By the way, everybody, that link is to go to that JVIC webinar. I'm going to be there, hanging out in the comments. Come hang out with me. Learn what this is all about. Learn some steps that you can take right out the gate. Start moving toward this thing, because when you change your trajectory, when an airplane changes trajectory, even 2 degrees worth of difference, they're going to take a different path around the world. So, I urge you to be a part of this thing. Parting thoughts for the audience, Brady.
Well, I have this thought in my mind, a couple of questions and a couple of statements about the webinar and the community at large, right? So if you've ever thought, or it's even crossed your mind that you could leverage somebody else's community, or you've looked at another community and you're like, man, I would like to get access to them and get that, like have a group that's pre-qualified already, or you want to spread your message like wildfire, like by just plugging into somebody else's tribe, their audience, their community, that's somebody they've spent tons of time building, or you just want to get a look at like an instant kind of influx of clients basically on demand, then like you definitely want to come to the webinar next Tuesday, because On there, we're going to talk about, how to find industry leaders. So people like RJ and myself, right? How to connect with them, how to get their support so that they can actually support by promoting you and your products, right? Your programs, but also how to contribute to those partnerships, even if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a mailing list, right? Because like that's a lot of times people that are new to JVs, they don't have that stuff. They don't understand what's involved. So even if you're starting from like, I have one person on my email list or zero, right? You definitely want to come show up on the webinar and actually like rock out with us, because this is super important. Oh, Denise, I know that I see Denise. Hi, Denise. Right. So I actually see the community is vibing right now. So you definitely want to show up, and we'll talk more about all those different pieces on the training. And, and then of course, RJ and I'll be hanging out and chatting with everybody and doing those kind of things.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, folks, visit the link. If you have an interest in doing business just a bit differently, if you have, if you have questions, if you're curious, drop by. It's free and it's going to be fun because we'll be there. I will wear the goggles and the cape. You won't see it, but know they're in the background. Yeah, the community is vibing. Look, Denise is, she's going to be with us next month at Let's Talk Impact.
Nice.
That's going to be fun. And Denise and Jane are another example of freaking great JV.
Amazing human beings. Absolutely love them. Yeah. And doing some incredible things with speakers, right? And that's going to be an awesome event. So definitely, if you haven't checked that out, I'm sure you're helping with them with that as well. So definitely let them know about what's happening there.
Yeah. Beautiful. Brady, I can't thank you enough for just being in my life, for being a dear friend. I hope that I get to see you before January. But if I don't, a big hug is coming your way. And thank you for coming on, teaching my community about different ways to make connections. Connections is one of those things that a small business cannot live without. And I'm so grateful to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting me. And thank you for believing in us. And believing in me.
Oh, anytime, my friend. Yes, effortless on my part. Very good, darlings. Well, it is Monday, and not Tuesday. I will not be on the air tomorrow, but I will be on Thursday. Same bot time, same bot channel. Thank you, as always, my friends, and I will see you all in a bot.